I'm Terry Trimble. Welcome to Breathe California TV. Each week, Breathe California sponsors this program called Environmental Concerns. We're very appreciative of Create TV in San Jose for giving us this 7 o'clock on Monday night time slot, and tune in for other great programs. Today, we're going to talk with Matthew Dodder, the Executive Director of the Santa Clara Valley Audubon Society. And you're going to learn a lot about how significant bird health is, along with human health, and about our great friends that share our community with us. So see you in 30 seconds.
The different therapeutic methods that we can help our very low socioeconomic status clients who have no alternatives, no anything, and there's still about 15 different resources we got out of this that if you have no resources, no service connection, you can still get aid.
That they are connected, one encourages the other, and that the process of change from backing off from the tobacco is the same as backing off from any other addictive drug.
Everyone can benefit from this training that we just were offered today. I would not take it back.
Welcome back. This is Breathe California TV. If you like what you see here, we need volunteers to help us reach over 100,000 people each year. So give us a call at 408-998-5865, and we would enjoy having you join us. Today, we're talking with Matthew Dodder, the Executive Director of the Santa Clara Valley Audubon Society. So almost all of us have heard about Audubon, but why don't you start off, Matthew, by explaining what the Audubon Society is and where your particular group fits in?
Well, thank you, Terry, for inviting me here. The Santa Clara Valley Audubon Society is a nonprofit organization dedicated to inspiring interest, curiosity, and concern for our local birds. We have a variety of programs that help educate people about birds, and lots of volunteer opportunities for people to help with our various programs. Our chapter has been in existence for almost 100 years. We're coming up on our centennial in 2025. And I've been here for 3 years now. And we have all kinds of things to share. Our activities changed quite a bit with the pandemic. We took many of our programs online, but now we're coming out of the house, and we're meeting people in person on our field trips, and there's plenty going on here.
There's lots of places in the United States that are named after Audubon. Are they all part of the same group?
Well, the National Audubon Society was not actually the first, but it was the first nationwide organization dedicated to bird conservation and bird activities. We are associated with the National. There are multiple chapters throughout the country. Nearly every county in really populated states like California has an Audubon chapter. Some states have fewer chapters because their counties are spread apart and there are fewer people. But yeah, we're all affiliated with the national chapter.
So when my wife was working, she and I are both retired now, we went to a conference in New Orleans, and there was a wonderful Audubon museum there, but they were very careful to point out that they weren't affiliated with Audubon Society or the kind of work that you're doing. Sound right?
That's very true, because each chapter probably devotes most of their energy toward local issues. The National Audubon Society is really concerned with nationwide bird conservation, large areas, whereas our local chapter is really dedicated to on-the-ground work, having to preserve working to preserve specific green spaces in our county. So if one is debating between contributing to either national or to the local, they're both worthy organizations, of course, but the contributions go directly towards local work here, local education, local school children programs, etc.
So I'm going to ask you to explain me here in a second. Having taught in college for the last 23 years, I kept telling my students that bird health is human health. You want to try to explain that, or are you going to make me do it?
Well, let me give it a try. So you've heard the expression canary in a coal mine. So when we have avian losses, species that decline or are what we call extirpated from a given area, it means that the environment is not healthy. It means that the habitat that that bird, that species requires is no longer available or is no longer suitable. Either it's been developed upon or it's been corrupted by pollution, something along those lines. So in a way, birds are a real red flag for humanity because they inform us very quickly about the health, the overall health of a given area. So I would say that, yes, they are they have a direct influence on how we interpret the health of the environment. Similarly, I think that we rely on birds not only for our sense of well-being and mental health, but if the birds are happy, then we're happy as well, because it means that the ecology of the entire area is functioning the way it should. Green spaces, various habitats, watersheds, saltwater marsh, etc. If those are healthy, it means the environment is working, and that's good for all living creatures.
So I vote for great answer. You and I talked about a couple of examples that people probably have heard of. I don't know what the source of it was, but I remember being told the story many times about the civilization, humans moving into Salt Lake City.
Yes. I know where you're going.
Yes, plague of locusts that gulls gobbled them all up. And I associate birds as our saviors on protecting us from harmful insects.
Yeah, I applaud that interpretation. So yes, that is a true story. And the Mormon Church has at least one monument to recognize the importance that the gull had on the survival of the settling Mormons in the area. The irony is that there are no Salt Lake gulls. Those are actually California gulls. And they, at that time, would routinely fly from the coast into the Salt Lake Basin and feed on the locusts and other insects there. So they had a long-standing migratory route that took them into that area. But as far as the Mormons were concerned, it was a miracle. And in fact, it certainly was for the Mormons, because they survived near starvation because the gulls ate the locusts. The locusts would, of course, eaten all of the crops otherwise.
So was Audubon involved with saving Mono Lake, which my recollection is the primary breeding area for one of the gull species?
Yeah, that would be California gull again.
Yeah.
I'm actually not aware of John James Audubon being involved with that, but National Audubon.
No, he couldn't have been. I'm not even sure we discovered the lake by the time he died.
Yeah. I am quite certain that local Audubon chapters and perhaps national were involved with saving that Mono Lake. It's such an important area for biodiversity, and several species that are threatened live in that basin. Greater sage grouse, for example, can be found there. And that is, and a number of other species that are really specific to that habitat.
So talk about the programs that you have and whether they're available to the public in
Oh,
general?
absolutely. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, our mission, it has kind of three pillars to it. There's education, conservation, and birding. On the education programs, we have a long-standing program called the Wetlands Discovery Program, which has been in existence for more than 30 years. And it takes the saltwater habitat to the kids and vice versa. So we go to the classrooms between kindergarten and sixth grade. Our sweet spot is 3rd to 5th grade. So we visit the classrooms, prepare them for a field trip to the salt marsh habitat at Charleston Slough and Palo Alto Baylands and Alviso. And we tell them about how the habitat works, the different animals that live there. And it's a pretty rewarding experience to see the kids light up when they start seeing these animals, these plants, these fish and other creatures, these birds in their native habitat, doing their natural behaviors. So that's pretty wonderful experience and something that a lot of these children had never been exposed to. They had no idea that the marsh was there, no idea how important it was. And we hear time and time again that they love to go back and they always remember the trips that they took there with Audubon. So we also have a nest box program where we distribute nest boxes and they are monitored by volunteers. Primarily the most uncommon species that nests in these boxes would be western bluebirds. This was near threatened for a while, but due to the nest boxes that many organizations are putting up, they're making a comeback. Of course, there are other birds that nest in there, Bewick's wren, house finch, et cetera. So it's a pretty interesting experience and it's a good community science project. And we're debuting a program this coming year called it's the Oak Savannah Community Science Program, OCSCP, sorry.
Will there be a test on this?
I think there should be, in fact. So this is our first high school program. So over the course of this present year, we are gathering data on the animals and plants, fungus and amphibians and reptiles that reside at the North Coyote Valley Conservation Area. So that's just north of Bailey on Santa Teresa Boulevard in Morgan Hill. So for the next year, we're gathering data on a series of bird surveys and bioblitzes that are open to the public. And after the first full year of gathering data, we will launch a brand new curriculum to our high school community, primarily in mid-county, a lot of underserved communities, underserved high schools, and taking these high schoolers to this area where they can participate in community science. And they can see what it's like to do field work, and they can learn a little bit about the natural habitat that they have right outside their doors, but may or may not have ever visited. So that's kind of a wonderful experience for us, an opportunity for us, and we're hoping that it's successful. So far, it's off to a fantastic start. And we have, as far as our conservation arm, we do a lot of work with dark sky ordinances to preserve the dark sky at night. So we're helping cities understand the detrimental impact of bright blue lights as opposed to the somewhat warmer, lower frequency lights that don't distract migrating birds, don't interfere with bat feeding, don't interfere with insect populations, mating, et cetera. So it's really important that cities understand the importance of dark skies at night. And we've got programs dealing with various city councils to try to get native plants used in urban parks, green spaces, et cetera. And one of our huge victories recently was the North Coyote Valley Conservation Area. After probably 30 years of advocating for it, was finally given permanent protected status. Now, we were not the only ones that joined in that fight. There were many other nonprofit organizations that helped get that status for the North Coyote Valley Conservation Area. Another more recent victory was that there was quite a movement to put in huge warehouses in the valley. And we fought to keep the zoning limited to agriculture. So this is the last and one of the largest undisturbed agricultural areas in Santa Clara County and certainly in the valley, which extends farther south. So we're very excited to have that finally in place, and we can rest a little bit easier knowing that huge carbon footprint warehouses are not going to be placed in Coyote Valley, one of the most beautiful and undisturbed areas in the county. And finally, we've got our birding program where we have dozens of field trips over the course of the year, well, many more than that, in fact, several field trips per week, and they're all open to the public. We've got our upcoming CBC, that's the Christmas bird count. By the time this program airs, it will have already passed, but come December, it'll come up again. So we'll be able to take volunteers to help out with that effort. Our spring birdathon is coming up, where people will help us raise money for our education program. And we've got a bunch of adults classes that are available online. And they'll be doing one in January, which will be available after this program airs, on waterfowl. Ducks and geese and swans are the biggest conspicuous arrival during wintertime in our area. So we'll be talking about those, how they live, what differentiates them, how to identify them, where to find them. So that'll be a 3-part class in January.
So Matthew, I apologize for interrupting you, but we need to take a break here. But the first thing I'm going to do is very self-serving, which is how pleased I am to hear that you're using Charleston Slough for education. In 1979, I was a volunteer attorney for you guys that negotiated Cargill's salt operations going under the control of the city of Mountain View. But we were not eager to just turn it over to Mountain View without some commitments on what they were going to do with it. So we'll come back in about 30 seconds and you can hit us with more activities. You look primed for discussing even more.
Okay.
So, audience, stay with us. We'll be back after this public service announcement.
What it feels like to have an asthma attack is, well, you can't breathe and you can't tell anybody that you're having an asthma attack because you can hardly talk. You can maybe say 1 or 2 words, but you can't say much else. Breathe California has helped me come in contact with more asthmatics and more people who have the same case as I do. It's important to me because I don't feel like I'm alone in the fight against asthma.
Welcome back. This is Environmental Concerns, sponsored by Breathe California. We're talking with Matthew Dodder, the Executive Director of the Santa Clara Valley Audubon Society. So I just visited you guys to fill up my Christmas stockings for my 2 kids, who I might add are 36 and 44. And I've been doing that every year. I just think it's a wonderful spot to go. Do you want to put in a plug for your shop?
Absolutely. The shop is open Monday through Friday, 10 to 4. And right now we've got some great ideas for holidays. We've got t-shirts, hats, we've got plush toys, we've got bird feeders, bird seed, tons and tons of wonderful books to help you learn about birds, recordings. So it's a great place. It's a little shop in our office building here on McClellan Ranch in Cupertino.
So why don't you give us the street address to, you're not in San Jose or Campbell where our audience is, but you're awfully close.
Right, we are at 22221 McClellan Road, Cupertino. I never remember the zip code, 95014. So if you come here and for some reason you arrive late or too early, we are located at the McClellan Ranch Preserve, which is a beautiful wildlife area just outside our door here. And there's a beautiful creek trail that leads back toward Blackberry Farm. And it's a nice way to spend a couple of hours here and definitely stop in and say hello. And maybe you'll find some Christmas stocking stuffers.
So it's a great spot to picnic. I asked Date to join me. You have picnic tables there outside where you can just enjoy the environment. But in any event, I'm going to give you that open-ended "what in the heck are you doing" question in a second, but why don't you expand on the Christmas count? You finished that, but what is it?
The Christmas count has been in existence for, I think, 105 or 115 years. It was begun on the East Coast as an alternative to Christmas Day hunting. So at some point, well, for many years, there had been the tradition to go out on Christmas Day and shoot as many birds as you could. After you wrapped your presents or unwrapped your presents, go out and shoot as many birds as you could. And it was a little bit of a competition. Well, at some point, somebody, and I don't recall exactly who, recommended that maybe we ought not to do that. Why don't we go out and simply count them instead? There's a competition involved there, and it's a lot of fun, and we won't be using so much ammunition. So that was a huge success. It became enormously popular very quickly. It's been going on for more than 100 years. We've been doing our Christmas count here, I think in the neighborhood of 78 years. And we send out teams, and they are all assigned to specific areas that are predetermined and are traditional sites. And we try to get as good a sense of how many birds live here during the winter time. Now, on the other side of that is the summer bird count, which struggles to do the same thing. And the idea is to keep a record, a permanent record of how our avian population is doing. So we can actually detect trends up and down with these counts. But even more than that, it's a wonderful way for people to participate in this community science or citizen science, and get people excited about watching birds, get people interested about what they do, how they live, how to identify them. And I've always said that the more the people understand about birds, the more they're going to care about them. And the more they care about them, the more they're likely to act on their behalf. So that's sort of the mission of Audubon, our Audubon chapter, is to inspire people to care about birds. And one of the best ways of doing that is going out there with them, showing them the birds. And if they're simultaneously doing something really helpful for our science database, that's all the better.
So to help with these counts, whether they be Christmas of 2022 or next summer, how good do you have to be at identifying birds? I certainly would, I'm not as good as you, and you probably aren't as good as some members of your chapter, but I probably wouldn't be able to identify most of the rare species that you might see.
Well, first of all, if anybody is interested in the Christmas bird count, it's easy to sign up about this time next year, being December of next year, or this December 22, we'll be accepting signups at that point. And it's easy to say that you need a little bit of help, you're not confident about identification, and you'll get teamed up with some other people that do have experience and will help you identify properly. So any birding level, any level of interest or birding experience is just fine.
So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was wildfires. Obviously, that's burning up a lot of bird habitat. Are there any studies done? Cornell, which is a great school for studying birds, or any place else, and obviously it impacted our air quality, and we were having our local air district talk about how unhealthy the air was. Talk about the effect of those wildfires on the birds that we're so fond of.
Yeah, absolutely. The wildfires are disastrous for wildlife. If you think about how a forest is affected by an inferno like we had up in the Diablo Range a while back, all the trees are taken down, all the underbrush is destroyed. It leaves no cover for ground birds like California quail, California towhee, spotted towhee, any number of other birds, ground squirrels, badgers, all kinds of things are deeply affected by the fires. At the same time, fire is in fact an ancient ingredient in a healthy ecosystem of California. So California has long depended on fires, routine fires, to clear out the underbrush, but we've repressed the fires for so many decades that much of that, the benefit of those fires has been avoided. Instead, we have these infernos that take over and wipe out an entire hillside, destroy homes, and unfortunately kill animals and in fact, sometimes people. So the importance of controlled fires.
I apologize for interrupting you. Your point is by stopping wildfires as soon as possible in the past, we've had a buildup of wood and other combustibles that make the current fires nastier than they would be, and climate change is making them more frequent.
Very much so. Yes, exactly.
So we're at a point where I think we're getting tight on time. I will encourage everybody to, you see under Matthew's name, the website, SCVAS.org. Go to work for Audubon. It's a lot of fun. I grew up with a father who had been raised in the backwoods of Humboldt County, and he thought anything that he could shoot or fish was just part of his food supply. And I had a friend in 1973, a carpool partner, who introduced me to birding, which was my excuse to go outside, hike and get some exercise and look for the magnificent birds. So go out and do that, or even better, volunteer for Audubon. Any last words, Matthew?
No, I would just say you pretty much nailed it right there. We're happy to have volunteers. We are one of the largest chapters in Northern California. I think we're growing. We have a really active, very interested, engaged membership. There are hundreds and hundreds of great people that make up this chapter, and we are essentially a volunteer organization. So everything we do on a shoestring budget. And I'd like to say, do visit our sites. You'll be able to download our newest newsletter. We have both this year and last year's annual report there. We've got a brand new checklist of birds available for the county. There's tons of wonderful stuff to look at, including a lot of videos that will talk about our chapter activities. And I think it's a great organization, and I'm so happy to be a part of it myself. And I look forward to meeting some of you if you're interested in joining.
Well, thank you again, Matthew. We're going to wrap up, and good luck to you and the great work that you and the society does.
Thank you so much, Terry.
All right. See you all next Monday night for another show. Good night.